Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm here to help you reach your potential as a leader and a human being. Welcome to Remarkable TV and the Remarkable Leadership Podcast. Today, we're talking about the changing nature of work-life balance. Are you ready? Let's get started. Last week, I talked about work-life balance being personal, which it is, but there's more that I want to say about that. And you can go back and watch that last episode. It's here. You can get the link to that, or if you can go to the show notes on the podcast to find that. But I want to say more about work-life balance because it's ever-changing, personal and ever-changing. So on the big picture side, that's really obvious, right? If you're newlyweds, if you're recently married, that's going to change, or when you get married, that's going to change your work-life balance and where your focus is a little bit, right? If you're a young parent, if you have, maybe you're not young, but if your children are young, that's going to adjust your work-life balance regardless of your gender. And certainly, if you become empty nesters, which is closer to my situation, that again, obviously is a big change, which changes our work-life balance. But there are less obvious and perhaps more important changes, the changing nature of our work-life balance that I want to talk about here. And the first of those is seasons of the year or other seasons of life. So I mentioned three really obvious ones: newlywed, young parent, empty nesters. We could go on with that. So there's other seasons of life or things that change in our life, our marital status, perhaps otherwise changes, and that could have an impact, but also seasons of the year. If you're in a business that's cyclical, if you're an accountant, your work-life balance in January, February, March, and April is going to be different than it might be in July, August, and September. And maybe you're in retail, and so you're getting ready for the fourth quarter when the heaviest shopping season is, or you're in the stores, and so your work-life balance might shift by season of year, and that's okay, right? If you're now working hybrid, your work-life balance might be different on different times of day, different days of the week. Are you getting that working for you on the days that you're in the office versus home? And does that need to change and adjust? And are you talking to the people around you to get it right? Are there other changing circumstances in your life that there could be many of them that are impacting the balance and where the right balance is for you? Here's the point that I'm making. If our situations are adjusting, we need to think about where we're trying to get with our balance differently. Because at the end of the day, work-life balance is a balance in time and focus. And so we don't just need to think about this in the biggest picture, but also on a more granular picture. Days of week, times of month. What needs to work for us? And so rather than shooting for something, let's think about always be balancing. Let me say it this way. Focus less on the destination and more on the action. You see, balance is a verb. It's something that we do, as well as a noun, a place that we are. Ultimately, because the nature of our lives is always changing, the nature of our needed or desired work-life balance is always changing. So if we'll focus more on the verb of balancing and less on some destination, we might be better off. Let me close with today's tweet. Work-life balance isn't a destination. It is an ongoing journey. When you realize it is always changing, you will come closer to finding your best personal balance. Work-life balance is just one of the many things. I mentioned it in this short video that changes as we work in new ways and in new places. So each week we create what we call the Remote Work Newsletter, and it shares the latest ideas on the personal front as well as on the professional front, as a leader and as a teammate, to help you be more effective as a remote team member, as a remote team leader. It's called the Remote Work Newsletter. Hope you'll join us. It's free every week. All the information to do it is right here or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. I hope you'll join us there. And I hope you'll join us right back here next week for another episode of the Remarkable Leadership Podcast and Remarkable TV.